Today I'm talking about the major reshuffle at Subaru. This is a Japanese car brand that's infamously known for its boxer engine, all-wheel drive vehicles, and rally racing. Coincidentally enough, the recent announcement from Subaru came about 2 months after the CEO shakeup at Toyota Motors. Today we're looking at the reason behind the change, who's replacing him, and what will this mean for the future of Subaru. Current Subaru corporate CEO Tomomi Nakamura is out. He'll be stepping down from the CEO role and will serve as chairman. Actually, it's somewhat similar to what Akio Toyoda will be doing at Toyota Motors. And it's not just the CEO, that's the mothership in Japan, is swapping. But Subaru America is also shaking things up. The transition of Subaru America took effect on April 1st. Interestingly, the same day, Akio Toyoda also stepped down from Toyota. Tom Dole stepped down as U.S. CEO and will serve as a corporate advisor. This is the man who's been leading the company in America since 2009. He was the main force behind elevating the Subaru brand to what it is today in the States. I'm talking about Subaru's sales record for 12 straight years in a row, up until the pandemic shut down production. If you're wondering about the reason for the sudden change, you'll have to look at the company's lineup versus where the car market is going. There's been a lot of talk and market push for car companies to electrify, and many American companies have already accepted it and are already moving towards electrification. Japanese car brands in general, however, have been rather slow to adopt electrification. Take Toyota, for example, who's especially gotten a ton of criticism for it, and Subaru is not far off. Right now, Subaru has only one fully electric vehicle in its lineup. I'm talking about the Solterra. But sadly, its sales have been opposite of exemplary. In fact, Subaru sales started rather late, around the middle of last year, for one. And it only delivered a dismal 919 units last year here in the United States. By the way, not many people know this, but the Solterra was actually co-developed by Subaru and Toyota. In fact, both companies co-designed the Subaru Solterra and the Toyota bZ4X. This happened soon after Toyota increased its stake in Subaru to 20%, just before the pandemic. Actually, the Solterra is more or less a rebadged version of the bZ4X. It's the very reason why both vehicles share uncanny similarities. The two vehicles share the same structure and bones, so to speak, both sharing the same Toyota ETNGA platform. Any differences are only discernible when you look at the finer details. Both are battery electric compact crossovers, but the Solterra prioritizes off-road capabilities, whereas the bZ4X is a more practical daily commute road vehicle. All this is to say that Subaru's been dragging its feet with electrification. Also, its overall sales, even with its combustion engine lineup, have dropped since the pandemic. For example, last year it sold 557,000 cars, compared to 2019, just before the pandemic, when it sold some 700,000 cars. It's those two things that Subaru aims to change via the CEO shuffle. Current CEO Nakamura first took the helm back in 2018. At the time, Subaru was facing a difficult period in its history. They were seeing a ton of vehicle inspection problems that really put a dent in the company image. I'm talking about quality problems and embarrassing recalls. Anyway, Nakamura, when he stepped in, spearheaded a lot of quality improvements and addressed production pressures. Despite this, current CEO Nakamura is also known to be an EV skeptic. Been a very unpopular position to take since it goes against the mainstream. In fact, he often asked if EV demand was really that strong in North America. Well, anyway, last year, Subaru as a company finally conceded and acknowledged the growing trend in EV worldwide. In recent months, the company said it will expand its lineup to include several EVs in the States by 2025. Also, it'll build a dedicated EV assembly plant in Japan in 2027. I'm talking about a $1.8 billion investment to develop the factory. And it will be where Subaru will make the new battery electric and hybrid cars. In fact, Subaru says that at least 40% of its global sales will be battery electric vehicles or hybrids by 2030. Recently, Subaru announced they won't invest in plug-in hybrid technology, although they will continue with standard hybrids, in addition to ramping up battery electric models in the US. This is a tad different from Toyota's strategy, which is to diversify across different technologies. In the meantime, the next generation 2024 Subaru Crosstrek and Impreza are set to arrive in the States. At this moment, plans are to exclusively offer them with combustion engines. There's no word now as to whether we'll see a fully electric or hybrid version. I'll get more into the Crosstrek in a few minutes. Tomomi Nakamura, the current CEO in Japan, will be replaced by Atsushi Osaki. He's more EV friendly, and all eyes are on him now to transform Subaru and help it enter the EV era. Basically, he's the guy who's expected to help Subaru play catch-up. Expectations are for Subaru to become more flexible and quicker than before in responding to changing market trends. Subaru also hopes to expand its market reach. Right now, the U.S. is Subaru's largest market. Believe it or not, in fact, the U.S. accounts for 75% of all global sales of Subaru. Subaru aims to grow its share in the U.S. market as well as enter and expand in newer markets like Australia, for example. The CEO change in Japan is set to happen this June. So who is Atsushi Osaki? He's 60 years old, and he's been with Subaru since 1988. That's more than half his life. And apparently, one of his favorite pastimes is eating ramen. If that's a stereotype for Japanese, I guess it'd be like an American saying he likes eating hamburgers. Speaking of hamburgers, for now, Subaru has zero plans for making an EV plant here in the U.S. Basically, Subaru said it can't afford to pay employees as much as McDonald's, which offers $20 to $25 minimum wage in some areas. For now, Subaru intends to make EVs in-house in Japan. As of last May, he's been making plans to build an EV-only factory in Japan by 2027. But here's the thing, and Subaru acknowledges this too. There's a chip shortage issue as it is. On top of that, Subaru now needs to play catch-up and look at electrifying its current lineup plus develop new battery electric ones. And then there's also the distinct issue of procuring batteries. And that's a whole nother set of challenges on its own. And this is just the beginning of the tough issues that new CEO Atsushi Osaki has piled onto his ramen bowl. If that bowl is hot and spicy, it'll make him sweat for sure. Moving across the pond to the United States, specifically Camden, New Jersey. On the U.S. operations side of things, Tom Dahl is out. And we have Tadashi Yoshida, or Toddy, as he is known, who's stepping up from Executive Vice President to become CEO. He's been with Subaru for 34 years, previously having served executive positions in sales and marketing and customer service. We also have Jeff Walters. He's the Senior VP of Sales, and he's getting promoted to President and COO, or Chief Operating Officer, of Subaru America. He also has 3 decades of experience at Subaru under his belt. Not many people know this, but right now, Subaru has 5 manufacturing facilities. 4 are in Japan. About 80% of Subarus are made and assembled in Japan. And actually, that's a stark contrast to many other Japanese car makers who use various plants and factories overseas. The 5th Subaru factory here is in the States, in Lafayette, Indiana. The Indiana plant's been around since 1989 and has since rolled out 4 million Subarus. The plant currently makes the Outback Impreza and the Legacy for the North American market. Initially, though, the company has humble beginnings. Actually, it first started out making airplanes for Japan in World War II, kind of like BMW's roots. It wasn't until after the war that it started making cars. In 1954, it released its first car, the Subaru 1500, also known as the P1. It was small, with a 1.5-liter engine that output a dismal 55 horsepower. But it was efficient and reliable for its time. Actually, the 1500 remained Subaru's only front-engine rear-wheel drive until 2012. Fast forward to today, Subaru makes the Outback, which is interesting because right now we live in an era that says wagons are uncool and outdated. So much so that many car makers are dropping their wagons from their lineup. Take, for example, the Volkswagen Golf Sport Wagon and the Golf All-Track Wagon. Yet, despite market trends, the Outback continues to outlive its segment. In fact, it's one of Subaru's best sellers. Nowadays, it's marketed as a mid-size crossover with the current wheelbase being larger than previous models. But really, it's a station wagon. People do like station wagons. Now, by the way, here's the interesting thing about the Outback. In general, many car makers typically offer all-wheel drive as an option. Even in SUVs, all-wheel drive is either available in higher trims, or it comes optional, or even if it's an option at all, and you have to get it. But the Outback has always come standard with all-wheel drive, since the day of the Outback was first launched. Actually, all Subarus are made to be all-wheel drive vehicles. Now, Subaru's the only car maker to offer symmetrical all-wheel drive, which is quite different from what many other car makers provide. Usually cars with all-wheel drive use front-wheel or rear-wheel drive most of the time. And the all-wheel drive is on standby, so to speak, and only kicks in when you need extra traction. But Subaru's all-wheel drive simultaneously sends power to all 4 wheels, and it does this constantly. So there's no lag or delay for the all-wheel drive to kick in and activate. It's already on if or when weather and road conditions change suddenly. And that makes sense when you consider the Outback was made to be an adventurous car. Then there's the Crosstrek, which is Subaru's subcompact crossover. Interestingly enough, Subaru's dropping the Crosstrek plug-in hybrid version after this year's 2023 model. Reason why Subaru is halting development on the PHEV is to focus on new electric and hybrid vehicles. It turns out the sales of the Crosstrek PHEV have been dismal anyway. Last year it only sold 2,600 hybrids in the United States. Now, the Crosstrek hybrid does get better fuel economy than gas-powered vehicles. According to EPA, it gets 90 mpge combined highway and city driving using electricity and gas, and 35 miles per gallon combined city and highway driving using regular gasoline only. Contrast that with the traditional Crosstrek, I'm referring to the regular gas-powered one, with the new 2.5-liter four-cylinder Boxer, which gets 29 combined. You're probably wondering, if the hybrid version is more fuel efficient, why isn't it a big hit? The thing is, the hybrid is only available in 11 states or so, but that's not the only factor. There's also a huge price difference between the combustion engine versus the hybrid. The standard gas version starts under $24,000. The hybrid, on the other hand, starts at almost $37,000, and that's before you add on extra features. And apparently, consumers aren't willing to pay an extra $13,000 in exchange for better fuel mileage. Anyway, that's where things are with Subaru. This is the company who released a tiny car called the 360 back in 1968. And its initial marketing slogan was cheap and ugly. Well, cheap and ugly have come a long way since then. It's not nearly as big as Toyota. Nevertheless, it continues to see consumer demand for its cars, but it's unable to keep up with demand. Reason is because of the same chip shortages, which is something every car maker has been facing in recent years. But now, you tell me, what do you think of the Subaru executive swap? Do you think it'll bring the brand back up? Please share by commenting below. If you like this video, please like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for your support.